Okay, let's go on to this, which is all about AI reading minds now. If you thought it wasn't going to get more weird.
Look into my eyes. Look at my eyes. Only my eyes.
Not around the eyes. Straight into the eyes. So there was a story that went around about this recently. It's kind of developed a little bit. So there is now an AI-based decoder. So this was developed by a university in Texas that can translate brain activity into text, which sounds like I'm making it up. Promise you I'm not. So it's called non-invasive mind reading. It's become possible for the first time. So I don't know how
non-invasive mind reading. Get yours here. Only $2.50.
Literally. So it's a decoder that reconstructs speech accurately using fMRI scan data. Potential applications in restoring speech for stroke or motor neuron disease patients, or what they're working on, which is a great use of it, of course. And now large language models are able to enable this interpretation of brain activity in response to speech. So they had some volunteers who trained the decoder by measuring their MRI data. Can you tell I don't really know what I'm talking about? By listening to podcasts for 16 hours in the scanner. So they did that and then basically trained the language model on the outputs of that to recognize stuff, I guess. And the decoder generates text that captures the meaning or gist of the original words. And it's been successful in describing content from silent videos based on brain activity as well. Crazy. So I will link this as well if you want to go and read about it. But yeah, we're beginning to be able to do this with AI as it learns at speed. So I don't even know where we go from here. But
well, I had a thesis on this, which was the death of the iPhone. Or the death of the smartphone. Let's call it that way. And it's not like the smartphone isn't a device through which we will interface with the world, because there's always going to be a need for something that feels like a piece of paper. But fundamentally, a lot of the things that we do, particularly, generating huge amounts of waste through the materials you need to make phones, could go away if we simply think about how we interface with the world in a different way. So spatial computing, having this 3D evolution of the internet, or spatial evolution of the internet, which I think is what the metaverse wants to be, could be. And so when you think about the command structure, Siri is a little bit inefficient, a little bit slow, but ChatGPT could be improvement on that, but you're still having to articulate a word. And if you're walking down the street just happily chatting away to Helen or Bridget or Karen or whatever it is that you're talking to, then why are they always female? Why can't it be Bert?
Yeah.
Or Georgi?
I'm going to call mine Bert, for sure.
Or like something really manly like Rock Stone.
Yeah.
So that feels like, if you can embed this into a wearable, like a piece of body modification, or it becomes a chip inside your head, I feel like it's probably where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And so being able to read brain activity and turn it into text, turning into something. And I think the bit that's been really bananas for me is this idea that everything is now a conversation, that every single piece of media that exists will be turned into a conversation. So you can...
How do you mean?
So there is a plugin there's a plugin for YouTube now, which allows you to have a conversation with a video, which sounds ridiculous.
As in, it's getting the text, and it's listening to it, getting the context of everything as a language model, and then you're able to converse with it.
Yeah, so there's transcripts of videos, and it can understand that transcript, and then it can give you a complete kind of rundown, a summary of that video. But you can also ask it questions about that video. Now, it only has the context of that particular video. But if you think about how YouTube is, it's very speech heavy. So much of the content of that video is spoken, it's articulated aloud, so you can interrogate that video. But it goes further. I was working with a plugin on ChatGPT where you can load in a PDF, it can summarize it for you, but you can also have a conversation about the PDF. So the PDF becomes...
And it's multimodal, right? So it's understanding the images?
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that stuff. So you can completely interrogate a document without having to read the document. So instead of reading it, having your own questions, and then reflecting, you ask the AI to do the reflection for you based on things. Because ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, especially now if it's being able to begin to read our thoughts. It just gets crazy. And here's a practical application of that. So that's very scientific, obviously. There's a company called NextMind who have been around for a little while. And this is crazy. They have basically are working in the same space. It's called brain-computer interface technology. And their device, which is on YouTube, and I'll show a clip, is essentially, again, a non-invasive wearable device that allows users to control digital interfaces using their thoughts. So it sits on the back of your head. And how I saw it being used was a guy who was testing it, and he was in VR, and he was able to look at, he was in an environment where he was basically with aliens, and he was able to focus his attention, his eyes or brain activity on a certain spot on the alien. The device was able to recognize, I guess, an electromagnetic reading of it that was intensified because he was focusing, I assume, and the alien exploded. So he was able to just look at the alien in the game and it would explode. They're really interesting, and they're doing lots of cool stuff in this space, and they also got acquired by Snapchat at the beginning of this year, so I imagine something interesting as well.
Snapchat, the company that refuses to die and just keeps innovating, but no one cares.
Well, although so many people use it.
I know some people use it, but it's like, how do they make money?
Yeah.
How do they make money? So we, it's worth actually just rewinding, because so much of what we're experiencing now has been dreamed of and imagined in pop culture. So there's a film with Clint Eastwood from the 80s called Firefox, where he goes and steals like this Russian super secret plane, which is controlled by your thoughts. So you've got, Clint Eastwood barely saying a word, and so, to help him out, they plug his brain in there. He doesn't have to speak anymore. So you can just,
ideal.
Hey, you want him, punk? It's like, I'm going to fly a plane now, punk.
Wait, did you hear that if he's just thinking?
Yeah, well, I can't remember. The film is probably not very good, but it left a massive impression. It was like, he can fly with his thoughts. And
that will never happen, except, wait.
Yes, except here we are. So, again, Ready Player Me, like, when I think about Halliday and Ready Player Me, it's Tim Sweeney. It's the same voice. I mean, of all the people that you would have thought being an advocate and a sort of superhero for this new emerging metaverse and game space and game engine driven spatial computing, wouldn't have thought it was him, but there we are.
Simulation stuff, for
Simulation
sure.
stuff.